Excellent. There we go. Look.
Well, we have a beautiful
Fantastic.
Wednesday evening. The weather is good.
It has been stunning. It's a bit windy though, wasn't it? A bit windy earlier on, but then sort of eased off a bit, I thought.
Yeah, a bit deceptive. Kind of nice looking outside, and then you get outside and think, "Ooh, should probably have a jacket."
Yeah, yeah. I walked down the, as I say, I've been grandparent duties today, so I walked down the park with a coat on. After about 20 yards, I took the coat off, put it in the buggy, and then haven't worn it at all since then. It was it's far too warm, far too warm. But yeah, we went on many little trains. It was very exciting, I can tell you. But yeah,
there's a funny thing in our part of London. There's the Ridgeway Park, and they've had a miniature train there for 105 years or 110 years, something like that. And it wasn't that long ago that we did some digging around, and we found out that Walt Disney was a massive fan of miniature railways. That was like, he loved engineering. He had one in his back garden, and he rode on this miniature railway line back in the 1940s, early 50s. And there's pictures of him on the train. So as a local thing that's still going, it's all run by volunteers. They go up, they get the little locomotive engines going and bits and pieces. It's got a lovely story behind it.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic that it's still going.
The bloke that the people we bought our house from, he was so we have a couple of garages, and above it, you've never seen a place with so many plug points, because he had his train set in.
Oh, really?
But also, he had a steam train that he ran round the garden on a set of rails. So the shed they built, he built a shed that's now gone, but basically had a little door in it, and he would put the train on, and then he would let the train run round his garden, and then it came back in through another door in the shed. It was like the weirdest thing ever. When we moved in, it was like, oh, okay, this is a bit weird. He took the track. He took the track with him, but he left all the railway sleeper sort of things. It was sort of quite cute in a bizarre way. But it was like, because then I was thinking, was the train big enough for him to sit on? or was it just a lot more steam train? And looking
after a couple of brandies,
looking at the track, I'm pretty sure it wasn't a sit-on steam train, but it was quite cute. I was thinking, oh, can you imagine that? You know, if you were nowadays, you have this little steam train slowly going out, probably going sometimes. It's quite sweet.
It's a shame, because I feel that's kind of something that we've completely lost.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's changing times.
It is.
So I think we should start, and this is a lovely segue from old-fashioned steam trains into the modern world of social media and AI. So thank you for joining us, everyone who has. Those that are familiar, we do this on a Wednesday night, normally between 7 and 8. It will be a hard stop at 8 o'clock tonight, because one of our hosts this evening is a big Arsenal fan. And hopefully they're going to win and get through to the semi-final of the Champions League. So Chris will be a true
Arsenal fan now. I've got my fingers and my toes crossed.
So we'll finish at 8 o'clock. So tonight we've got Oliver Acton. Oliver's our creative director of FTI Media, and my eldest son, for the observant ones amongst you. And
it is in the name.
Yes. And tonight Oliver's going to talk about social media, but in particular AI, because AI is transforming social media into a growth tool that hasn't really been there before. So there'll be some chat around organic social media, how AI is impacting the ability to create content, but also engage. You can use it for analytics and optimization of your channels, but also just talk around the ethics of AI as well, because I think it can feel a little bit like the Wild West at times, because there isn't really there isn't much governance around the AI. You see celebrities having their faces plastered over campaigns for which they've got nothing to do with. So it's quite challenging around the ethics of it. And then also there's a little piece around where those future trends are going. So if you've got any questions, ask them as you go, chuck them into the Q&A section. We'll pick those up at the end. A good time to pop it in is when the question pops into your head.
There's a certain type of irony as well. I just looked at one of the attendees, and one of them is someone's AI note taker.
Oh, really? Well, there we go.
There we go. The world has already moved on.
Whether
they're watching as well, I don't know. Or whether
you just send your AI note taker and
man.
They send the AI on their behalf.
So
as usual, Chris and I will get rid of our video, get rid of our sound. We'll pass you over to Oliver, and then we'll probably come back in about 45 minutes and we'll have a little chat and a Q&A at the end.
Excellent. Yeah,
Sounds
over
good to
to you.
Over to you, Oliver.
Amazing. So first of all, thank you everyone for coming out on a Wednesday afternoon. I know it's lovely outside at the moment, hopefully for most of you, but yeah, here we are talking about AI in dental social media. So just to kind of start off, it'll be a kind of entryway into kind of organic social media and how AI fits within that and how you can start implementing it within your practice. And as we go along towards the end of the presentation, there'll be some actionable programs and things that you can do today, tomorrow within your practice to be able to kind of help you, whether you're running the social media yourself or help your practice manager or your nurse, or even things that you can pass on to anyone that is handling your social media that is like, right, can we try these things? Have we looked at this? Have we done this? And the answer might be yes, we're doing that. But the answer might also be like, oh, okay, no, let's have a look into that. So let's get started. So first of all is, why does it matter? And when I say why it matters, I'm talking about why does promoting yourself, why does organic social media matter in general? So first is, customers obviously discover your dental practice through online searches. And when we talk about online and organic social media, I'm obviously not aware that other forms of media and promotion exist, such as having a shop front or advertising the local newspaper. But for the purposes of this channel, we're going to start with people finding you through online means, so through your website and through social media. So this is the first kind of touch point that people have with your practice. So that's where they get to see the brand, they get to see kind of the people behind it. And this is kind of the first point in which they see you. Then second, they do a bit more digging. Right, okay, I've seen 2 or 3 practices in the local area. I've kind of nailed it down to a few that I like, a few that I kind of resonate with. And right, let's actually do some research into those practices. Do they do the treatments I want? Have they got the reviews from people that have had the treatments that I want to take up? So it's kind of that next level of building that relationship, building that trust. And the worst and the best thing about all of this is you don't know this is happening. It's very hard to track exactly the people that have gone from your website, gone to your social media, read the reviews. So it's kind of something that we always need to be putting out there to make sure that when this process does happen naturally and organically, as we all do when we buy kind of any product or service, it happens in the best and on-brand way possible for you and your practice. Then, so the next is they read your reviews and then visit your social media. And this is where they're really looking for the testimonials and the before and afters and the education behind your kind of treatments and practice. And then if they are engaging with what you're doing and what you're saying, this is when they might start to like your posts, to share them, possibly to comment. They might ask a question, might send you a direct message or a DM to ask about a specific treatment. So this would be kind of the beginning of the process for you in terms of actually starting to engage with the patient. So everything up to stage 4 is kind of hands off. So you're aware it's happening through possibly looking at the metrics, seeing your website hits go up, seeing your social media views go up. But until they actually start engaging with your content and kind of putting things back out there to you, is kind of, yeah, just following the numbers and trying to increase those to start with. And then that's where kind of the holy grail that we always think should be there. They book an appointment. And hopefully they book an appointment, you take them through the process of the practice, they're very happy, they love their treatments and everything, so they become a loyal patient, which is obviously the holy grail for what do we want to do with all of the marketing that goes into everything. However, there is another step, and that is getting patients to leave positive reviews and refer new patients. So you want to turn those patients into kind of conduits for you into the local area, into their friends, their family. And also by going back to number two, so customers research and read the reviews, feeding back into that. So once you kind of get the ball rolling of the process, you want to be able to just build it and snowball up by kind of feeding people through the process, ending up to positive reviews, and then that going back into referring new patients and so on and so forth. And we know just by general marketing and like business in general, it's not going to be 100% hit on every single one. But that's where you need to look at your numbers, realize where your treatment uptakes need to be. So for, say, some more expensive treatments, obviously, you know, that's going to be slightly lower than some of the kind of more affordable end treatments. Or if you're, kind of running slight discounts and things, you might get more patients in through that. So it's kind of understanding where your numbers are at to get people down to that holy grail of a loyal patient and getting them to leave positive reviews and refer others. So we hear a lot about the benefits or the benefits between organic and paid for social media. So to define the term, organic social media is any social media that's put online for free. So as in, you don't have to pay the platform to post. So say Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, you don't need a subscription or any monetary means to actually post on any of these platforms. If you get into the area of kind of social media management, that may cost, but as I said, these platforms are completely free to use if you're not running adverts. So to start, it starts to build genuine trust with potential patients. So every time they're on social media, and I think the average is 1.5 to 2 hours a day. A lot, okay, say the younger groups are on various social medias. So every time they see it, you're popping up. If you're sharing content that resonates with them, so kind of behind the scenes things, they might see the reception team, they might see the dentist, the nurses, and they think, okay, yeah, this is a group of people, a kind of nice thing to be involved within. And of course, you do need the treatments and everything to back it up. But a lot of time it just becomes with being able to harness the kind of energy of the practice and bringing in like-minded patients for that. And obviously this, going back to the previous point, if they're like-minded patients with the practice, they're more likely to be able to, or more likely to leave reviews and refer other people that are also like-minded, because we would assume their friends and family are probably going to be a bit like them. Next, it showcases the team and the culture. So from an internal point of view, obviously, we want to put the social media out there to generate leads, to get patients in, but it allows the team to be part of the practice. It allows them to kind of be involved with kind of the runnings and the social media and the brand of the practice, kind of rather than just kind of turning up and doing their job. And I know some practices, some of the team members would hate this and some team members love this. So it's not a one size fits all. But for those that do get involved, you definitely see an uptake in kind of the way the practice behaves and the way that they think about engaging with people and engaging with patients and kind of just engaging with the marketing and the social media in general. And of course, it encourages the word of mouth shares. So when they interact with you online, when they visit the practice, like I said before, they're going to be the type of patients already that you're looking for. So compared to paid advertising on any social media, you might be getting people that are just looking for, say, a good deal on Invisalign or a good deal on teeth whitening or a good deal on implant. They might not be people that specifically resonate with you and your practice. They might just be looking, kind of shopping around for a good deal. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But these probably have a lower chance in becoming those loyal referrers, those loyal word of mouth sharers that you probably get through building a good organic social media and kind of building that tribe within the community. And then it's cost effective in the long term. So this is a question we always get asked. Obviously, we're going to spend some money on having our social media managed, some content created. That's obviously going to cost. Why wouldn't we just put that money behind some paid advertising? And my thought is always, if you can, do both. Which is, I'm never going to talk down on paid advertising. It's a phenomenal way to generate leads. However, once you turn the money off, the leads stop. So it will only run as long as you're on top of it and as long as you're funding it. However, with organic social media, once you've built that kind of tribe and community around the social media, and even getting the whole team involved, getting the nurses, receptionists, dentists, it becomes kind of a thing unto itself. And then say you were to stop working with a management company and bring it in-house, you now have a kind of sort of tangible product and tangible community to build from, rather than, say, with paid advertising, you'd turn the money off and have to look elsewhere to see where the leads are going to come from. So here are just a couple of strategies for organic growth, kind of before we get into the more AI heavy portion. So starting with the rule of relevance, reach, and rhythm. So firstly, we need to be posting things that are relevant for your, which obviously says it in the title, but things that are relevant to your patients. So we always like to go down the area of education or edutainment, as it were. So it's kind of informing patients of the treatments that you do, but also reinforcing the patients that you already have, that you do provide other treatments. So I don't know how many of you have heard, I've heard a couple of stories where patients have been loyal to a practice for many years and then go back to the practice and they've had their teeth whitened, or their teeth are a bit straighter, or they've had some composite bonding done. And the dentist says, oh, you come here for regular checkups. You've been here for 15 years or so. What made you go elsewhere for those type of treatments? And they say, oh, I didn't realize you did that. And they've been coming for regular checkups, and the dentist may have even mentioned that, oh, we should do this. I'm not saying that they wouldn't have, but by another practice promoting and doing educational pieces, saying like, look, your teeth look like this, we can change them to this, and this is the outcome you could expect, have managed to maybe not steal your patient, because they might still come back to you for the regular checkups, but they might have kind of steered them away for that specific treatment. And there's no point, obviously, when you've got a patient like that, you need to do as much as you can to kind of keep them in-house and keep them with you guys and help them as much as you can. And then it's reach. So you want to be imploring all of the strategies that you can when it comes to, say, hashtags, tagging, collaborating with your patients to try and reach as many people within that community as you can. So to start with, the first one, saying hashtags. So we always recommend Instagram, for instance, allows up to 30 hashtags. So using all 30, so we say break them into 10s. The first 10 being general. So this would kind of be general dental kind of hashtag, so dentistry, teeth. The second being more specific. So say you're, for instance, advertising Invisalign. You want to do Align, Invisalign, straight teeth. And then last is very specific. So this would be your local practice hashtags. So it might be, don't know, Sandown dentistry, or wherever you may be, that if people are searching specifically for your practice, these are the ones that it's going to pick up on. And then to move on to collaborating and tagging your patients, that we always work on creating content that your patients are happy to post themselves. Because if you can tag, or even better, collaborate with your patients, it then puts the content more into their sphere. So you're not now only posting to your network, you're now posting to their network as well. And this is so powerful because you get to then get in front of, again, those like-minded people, say their friends, their family, and they're also putting their stamp of approval on the practice by saying, I've had some dentistry here. I'm obviously happy to do a testimonial. I'm happy to have this out there. Therefore, I'm kind of, putting this out there that this is a good place to go to. And then lastly is rhythm. And rhythm can also be thought as consistency. So you want to be posting, we usually say 3-4 times per week. So you can go up, you can go down from there. So, but if you're going to start, I'd say set 1 post a week, set 2 posts a week, and keep it going. Before you start saying, right, we're going to post 5, 6, 7 times a week, we're going to do stories, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and then realize 2 weeks in, you've burnt out, no one wants to do it, you've run out of content. So it's kind of thinking, right, what is a sustainable strategy that we can keep up for the foreseeable future? Run it for a month, run it for 2 months, find your feet, find what's working, and then be like, right, okay, we're now settled. We're kind of good at creating the content. It's not feeling too overwhelming. Let's see what else we can do. Can we post a bit more? Can we share more stories? Can we be commenting on our patients' posts a bit more if you've got a bit of spare time, if there is ever such a thing? So yeah, it's kind of being consistent. And I think it's, for me, social media is consistency broadly over all else. I'd much rather see someone posting broadly average content, but being really consistent with it, always shows up, is always engaging with their patients, is always engaging with the team, compared to somebody who has gone in, hired someone in to create some content, posts twice a day for 2 weeks and then stops. And then in 6 or 7 months' time, again, posts twice a day again for 2 weeks and then stops. So I just don't think that patients resonate with that, well, virtually at all. They'll see all the flashy content and then you're gone. And yeah, you don't just keep on getting them to pop up and share kind of your story. And then this is kind of where we start to slightly talk about AI and how to manage this. So this would be putting together a weekly content calendar. So you need to put a content calendar together at the beginning of the month to hold you accountable to what you're going to do. And I think there's a phrase that something that can't be measured can't be improved upon. So you need to make sure that what you're doing is improving on last month. So this is a good time to sit down, say, right, what are we promoting in the next month? So be it, say, whitening. You want to get more patients to uptake in whitening for the next month. Right, what patients have we had come through that we've got some good before and afters? How do we get some more educational content out about whitening? How do we kind of think of other ways to get patients involved around the topic of whitening? And then how does that fit within our weekly content plan? Put that all together. And we always say, if you're promoting something, for it not to be more than 50% of your content, because you don't want to ignore the rest of your patients, that could be looking for other treatments. And with it being 50% or less, it's still going to be a heavy proportion of your content, but it's not going to be overwhelming. You're not going to miss out on those other potential patients looking at other treatments. And this also keeps you organized and accountable. So you can see throughout the month already where it's going to be posted, what hashtag you're using. Is not going to be as ad hoc and you're kind of scrambling around for content because it's a Thursday and you said your post on Thursdays. So it's at the beginning of the month. Yep, I know what posts we need. Maybe give yourself 2-3 weeks to get the content together, and it's all right, okay, we've got it scheduled, we've got it ready. Let's start thinking about the month after. So let's go a bit more granular in terms of content types and formats that work. So the first being before and afters. For a patient, there's nothing quite like seeing a transformation. It's look at the amazing work one has done and turned into the next. But I think it's not so much seeing the wow result. For me, it's about the before. It's obviously you're going to post amazing afters. People's teeth are going to look fantastic. That's almost a given. But it's seeing that before and it's patients resonating with that person and saying, yeah, no, that's me. I have teeth like that. I have calcium spots. I have pitting. I have discoloration. It's those things that make you think, actually, yeah, no, that's my person. If they can become that, why can't I? And it's then just saying, right, they became that because of X, Y, Z. This is exactly what we did. This is how long it took. This is how we helped them. This is how we took from this patient and turned them into this. And if you can compare that, sorry, with a testimonial or a Google review, even better, that you get that kind of first-hand experience from the patient as well. Next are very short, whether 15 seconds, 30 seconds, 45 seconds, short videos on educational tips and also dental myths. So it's putting things out there that, well, I hate to use the term because everyone wants to go viral, but it's putting things out there that patients might not know. So there was the whole thing about charcoal toothpaste. Was it good? Was it bad? And obviously it was very eye-catching with the black teeth. And it's just kind of commenting on those things that as dentists, you know, day and night to be true. But it's finding those bits of questions that patients might even ask you week in, week out. And it might be, well, yeah, obviously we need to do this and we need to explain it in this way. It's just getting that on social media that informs your patients, but also puts you in a position of authority, that you're the go-to person in the area. You know what you're talking about. You've been doing it for a long time. That's why they should go and see you for the certain treatment that you're talking about. And then staff highlights, patients and patient shout outs. So it's getting the team involved. We want to show that you're a community-run practice, want to show that you're friendly. When the patient turns up, having seen you on social media, they meet your reception team that they've seen, and it all feels exactly as they thought it was going to, rather than kind of one person fronting it, which there's nothing wrong with that. The team don't want to be involved. You can't help that, but it's kind of creating that atmosphere that translates from social media, from your website, into the practice, into the chair, and beyond. And then you need a mix. So out of all of these types, and there are many, many more that you can do and try, they work all together. You can't have just one thing again and again and again. So, for instance, doing funny dances on TikTok, they work. They get views. They get the brand of the practice out there. You're a fun team. You're good people to be with. But if that's all you post, they don't get the educational side. They don't get the what treatments do you actually do. They don't fully understand kind of the other side of it. So it's kind of you can't lean too far one way or another. So it's kind of finding your space and your mix. And then the metrics that matter. So what do you need to measure to be able to make it worth your while? And we always say, forget follower count. It's a bit of a vanity metric. You do need to keep track of it, but these are the ones that you should be looking at first and foremost. First is engagement rate. Are people actually engaging with your content? Are they liking, sharing, commenting? So are they actually interacting with you? Or are they just seeing it and not doing anything with it? Second are profile visits. So these are people that see your content. They've probably liked it, commented before. That's kind of the first step. And then they think, okay, what are these guys actually about? What are we getting myself in? What am I getting myself into here? And that's when they end up on your profile. And that's where you put in front of them your patient testimonials, your before and afters, even your educational content, your fun content. This is where kind of that takes off and takes on a bit of its own, that you can be able to kind of put this stuff in front of them. And then from there, it's website clicks or landing page clicks, wherever you're sending people off to. And we always say it has to be going sort of to the right place, that if you're advertising Invisalign, your homepage of your website probably isn't the best place to send them to. It's much better if you can, and I know Facebook does it, to where you can set up sort of individual landing pages to get people's contact details, knowing that they were looking specifically for that treatment. And when they click through for that treatment, the page is designed in a way that it makes sense to them. It's like, oh yeah, I was looking at Invisalign, I've clicked through, here's a page on Invisalign, a bit more information. Let's give them a call, let's enter my email, however you guys are looking to kind of get their data to get back in contact with them. And then the holy grail, obviously, leads. It's you follow the rabbit hole down, and where do you end up? Has it all at the end of 2, 3, 6, 9 months? Is it working? Is it fundamentally bringing in more patients for the treatments you're advertising? And is it growing your patient base in a way that you're looking for it to? So what's AI in social media? So we just talked about all the ways that you can do it, and then this is how AI can help you. So let's just start with how it is already transforming. So from some case studies through Coca-Cola, as well as Action Sprout, who analyze kind of social media worldwide, they've seen an engagement rate increase of 27% of companies that are actively using AI within their social media, whether this is for scheduling, copywriting, content production, scripting, all of these things kind of put together, averaged over the companies that are doing it well, has been, around 27%. Profile visits have gone up 40%, meaning it's allowing people to more convert better on the posts that they're sharing onto the profile, and then moving on to the website clicks are also up 29%. So this is across the board on each stage. It's allowing people to kind of push patients, push leads, push people into the right way because of its very, very broad understanding of how the community work, how people think. And then lastly is shares and saves. So it's also increasing those, which is kind of comes down to, is the content actually engaging? So people think AI is creating bland content that you can tell it's AI. But from my personal experience and having used it, if you use it wrong, you don't use it in the right way, sure, it creates bland content that nobody shares, but it can create good content, educational content that people do actually want to share and save. So let's talk a bit about Coca-Cola, who obviously global beverage giant is a big enough company, and they harnessed AI last year. So their objective was to create a magical experience for customers during the holiday season. They were kind of one of the first, or not the first big companies to do it, but they did it in a big way. They made their main advert that went out over social media, over online, with the kind of Coca-Cola lorry coming through. That was created purely by AI. So they did it in a big kind of flag in the sand kind of way to say, right, we're here, we're gonna step forward, this is what we're doing. And they also created a space that you could go in, wear a headset, and have a AI VR experience, which I know is far beyond what many of us would be able to do, but it's interesting to see kind of top down. And I always think about things like Formula One, that sure, we're not using, for those of you interested in Formula One, nobody's using DRS on their cars or any of the technology that we see today, but roll on 15 years and we will probably see these technologies, or at least some of these technologies, dripping through into our own lives, into the cars that we drive. So it's very interesting to look at these big companies, especially with something like as emerging as AI, and be like, right, what's happening at the forefront, and how is this over time going to drip down and feed into us? But also, with something as fast moving as AI, what was happening 6 months ago with these big companies and what's accessible to me today? What can I be doing that these companies were doing 6, 9, 12 months ago that is now accessible to me and I can employ in my practice? And then they were delivering customized experiences. So every piece that they put out was customized for that region, for that country. And they were managing to do this a lot quicker and easier than they were before, which was a overwhelming success. They had a 27% increase in engagement compared to last year, which Coca-Cola have obviously been running adverts forever. They've been running, especially their Christmas campaign, which is very famous for a very long time. And yeah, that year had a 27% increase in engagement, but also a 43% reduction in creation time. So their teams were saving almost half of their creation time to create these images, saving them to either create more images, to get more personal, to create more content for different regions, or to save them to do other things in the company or the business, wherever their skills were best needed. And then here's I'll just skittle over some of the engagement boosts that were seen from that campaign. So using AI to write your captions, you can see possibly up to 50% uptake. AI generated post ideas. So this is kind of nailing down exactly what you might post. Recommended posting times. And we've been doing this for a good while in terms of using the analytics from Instagram and Facebook. But yeah, AI stepping to that and kind of finally refining that down. And then suggesting content types based on your network, on your audience, and then analytics as well. So it's right. We've been posted for 6 months. What has worked? What hashtags have worked? What copies worked? What kind of post types have worked? Is it image, carousels, reels? What's actually working for my audience? And this is a very easy way to be able to analyze that. So moving forward onto some actual granular tools that you can use. And I said I'll give you some things that you can do today or tomorrow. My personal one that we've used kind of a lot internally is captions. So this is a piece of software. Use it on your computer, use it on your phone, that takes a single shot video that you film. So say you're in the practice talking about composite bonding, for instance. You can do a 1 minute 2-camera piece. You can have the script up right in front of you, have it right there. Do your piece to camera. You put it into the software, hit go. It will do all the jazzy edits, all of the captions, all the subtitles, put music behind it, do the zooms in, the cuts in, even cut out the pauses, cut out the ums and ahs. And then you've got a sort of polished video to be able to put out there on social media. And you can even customize the branding on it and make sure that it does fit with you as a practice. And of course, it's still a work in progress. It's not perfect. It's AI, as with anything. Today is going to be the worst it will ever be. So it's definitely not something that if you try it once and it doesn't work, do try it again. We've definitely been doing a lot of testing with a lot of different creation tools to make sure that some work better than others, and just kind of keep going out with the testing and kind of seeing what works for you and what best way to go about it is. And then ChatGPT for copywriting. So I would heavily suggest, if you're looking into ChatGPT, looking into prompting. So this is what you put into ChatGPT to be able to get the best result. So rather than saying, I want you to write me a 500-word article on veneers, you're going to get a 500-word article on veneers, but I'm going to have a broad guess that it's not going to be highly engaging. It's not going to be tailored to you. It's not going to be kind of on brand and working with your audience. So the way you can help it by prompting it in a certain way, by saying, right, I want it to be a 500-word article on veneers. Here are 2 articles I've written personally previously. I want it to be in that style. I want it to be tailored towards, say, the 20 to 35 range. This is tailored to people who are already aware of veneers and are looking to see what we do differently as a practice. Here's our practice website. Here's the information, the branding, the copy that we already have. Can we go from there? So it's kind of giving it as much as you can before you kind of let it run. And I always think about it, if you have a team member, you'd never employ someone new and on the first day say, go write me an article, especially if they haven't been in dentistry before. They'll be like, oh, no idea what I'm going to do. And again, they'll come back to you with something, but probably not the best thing you can get out of them. But by sitting them down and explaining what you do and explaining how to best go about things, you're going to get a better result. And that's how I always think about using AI. The more you put into it, the better result you're going to get out of it. And then Sora, which is also owned by OpenAI, who own ChatGPT, released their new imaging and video model recently, which to me is absolutely phenomenal. It's ridiculous. And here we go. I'll start these to give you something to look at. They're silly. I've thrown a couple of silly ones in there to kind of push the boundaries of what might be possible. But in terms of the realistic content that you can create, and these were all created by myself. They're not the best examples that you can ever get out of Sora. They're not the headline pieces that they've put online. This is something that we've just done internally to create. And for me, the quality of what you get out and what you're able to put into it is ridiculous. And it's something that we should all be looking to implement within our own social media and kind of what we do on a daily basis, because it's definitely not going away. So this is the best time to learn. And like I said, it's going to be the worst it's ever been today. So kind of lastly, moving on to ethics, you need to keep it human led. So it needs to have a human person behind driving the narrative, driving the brand. Treat it like a very, very good tool. It's phenomenal, but it does need you thinking about it. And then always review everything. You need to make sure it doesn't have, I think the best one that we always see is a lot of Americanisms, which if you're in America, happy days. But using Zs in words where there should be S's is usually a telltale sign that, okay, it might have been written by AI, or at worst, people might see it and be like, oh, maybe they don't know that should be an S. So always review it, always make sure it's on brand. But as we always say, it's a lot easier to edit than it is to create. So use it as kind of a base one to go from. Then it's transparency. Almost don't pretend that what you're passing off is real if it is created by AI. So say you wanted to create, and I wouldn't suggest it, but a before and after. I would never want anyone to put out a photo of a real before and a fake after created by AI saying, we can make you look like this, because that's unethical and not the best way to go about things. But again, using a bit of general knowledge, if you're putting up a cartoon of a dentist, probably don't need to say this was definitely created by AI, because yeah, you're not deceiving anyone in those practices. And then lastly is the team. You need to get the team involved. There's been a lot of fear mongering around the past year, 18 months. AI is going to take jobs. AI is going to do this. Like if the owner of the business, if the principal starts employing too many AI practices, what's happening to me? But if we're all honest, the AIs are phenomenal tools, but we always see it as, rather than cutting jobs and saving money, is right. We have an existing good team. What more can we do? How do we keep that team? How do we best train that team to use AI? And then rather than hiring more people, how do we use AI to do the jobs that we were going to hire for and train the team to use this best? So it's not a cost cutting, a cost saving exercise. It's a productivity, revenue, income growth exercise, which I think by getting everyone on the same page gets kind of the whole train moving towards actually using AI in the best way. And then obviously we've had AI simplifying content. And then we've seen every post like Coca-Cola being tailored to your audience. And then we're going to see AI and humans becoming creative partners. So AI suggesting what we should create and then kind of creating it for us. But then we're going to see it kind of taking control of that entire situation. So full creation, management, posting. So we're just going to have to sort of sit back, oversee it, give it a steer, give it some original content and kind of let it go. But then moving on from that, and obviously this is all speculation, this might happen quicker, this might happen slower than I've put here, but it's understanding how your audience is feeling. And it's like, right, okay, that content's already working, let's tweak it for the next month, and kind of doing all of this autonomously rather than us taking the data that AI gives us and then having to draw our own conclusions from that. And then lastly, it's us and AI kind of all in sync. So it's creating the content, we're overseeing it, it's taking it all off your plate, and we just need to kind of stoke it with some new before and afters, a couple of videos. It handles the process, and we're kind of good to go. But as glossy-eyed notion, rose-tinted glasses as that is, we're probably a couple of years away from that at the moment. So final thoughts. I think the best thing to do is to explore at least one AI tool, whether it be ChatGPT, Captions, to go out there and try something, to get a feel for it, see what you can get out of it, see what you can put into it and what results you can get, and do some testing. And then review what you're already doing and how can you implement AI into that? How can you take some of your processes, take some of your content creation? Can you get it to do some of the heavy lifting? And then go to your team. Say, what stuff do you hate doing? It might be, oh, I hate copywriting. I can't think of anything to say. I can't think of hashtags. It's right. We will take that off your hands. That's a job AI can do. That's something that we can help with, which will save you up to, say it's the practice manager or the principal even, or a nurse that's handling this. It's right. That now frees you up to do the important jobs, or not to say the important jobs, but kind of the jobs that might be more revenue generating, or other jobs that are kind of taking away from that. And like we always say, that AI won't replace you, but it will amplify you. It's a tool to be used to be able to push yourself and your practice into the future. And I think, as I said a couple of times before, it's the worst it's ever going to be today. So getting in at broadly ground level and kind of understanding it today as it rolls on for the next 2, 3, 5, 10, 15, 20 years is only going to put you in good stead in the future, rather than kind of putting it off for, say, 4 or 5 years, and then you've got a bit of catching up to do. And that's everything for me. And I said I'd run to time, so that's 12 minutes too. And we do have a special offer for today. We always like to leave you with something. So we do full analytics for social media. So just drop me an email, which is oliver.acton@fta.media, and we will analyze your social media to be able to tell you what your engagement rates are, what content's working, what you should be looking at, and kind of give you a report and a steer in the best way possible to give you a good kind of base and a start to go from. So yeah, thank you very much for everyone listening. And hopefully everyone get out for the last bit of the sun.
Cheers, Oliver. Thank you very much indeed.
That was great. Thank you.
It's funny, isn't it? I feel, perhaps I'm deluded. I always try and stay at the edge of this stuff. I kind of tune into webinars. I've been to some seminars on the subject, but there's always little nuggets and things that you pick up from there. Something that I did think about, and it was something you were saying quite early on, just around social media generally.
Yeah.
About whether you should go wide with your audience or deep, because I think there's a lot of ego that sits around. Oh, someone's got 10,000 followers, somebody's got 100,000 followers, and people think that's a really good metric. But what's your view around going wide and trying to get a large audience, or really kind of doubling down on the followers you've got, but really educating them and talking deeply about the things that you do?
So I think it really depends what you want to get out of it. So for, say, platforms such as TikTok, much easier to get views on, much easier to get engagement on. But historically, and I think it will get there, but historically harder to get a return on investment from, to be able to get people to go to your website to actually convert, compared to Facebook and Instagram. But it also depends on what your patient demographic is. Say you're a large practice, say in London, you're looking to advertise Invisalign. You need to go fairly wide. You need to get a lot of eyeballs. A lot of people are doing it. You need to get views because there's quite a lot of competition. But if you're a local practice in Surrey that might have, say, 5,000 people in the town, that is where you need to become a lot more personal with your content. You need to be a lot more provincial. You need to be a lot more, right, we are part of the community. We are part of this. And that's where we obviously have a look at it. And that's where maybe the educational content is good, but takes a slight backseat compared to the team content. You need to really resonate with that group and that demographic. So I think really it's kind of horses for courses, on depending on what your practice demographic, what your patient demographic is, and what treatments you're looking for.
Cool. Brilliant. We've had a couple of questions come in.
Sure.
First one is, how does the hashtags on Instagram link to your contacts and followers on Instagram?
So hashtags are essentially a search function that it was originally designed that you could click a hashtag and you could be able to see all of the posts according to that hashtag. But what Instagram use it for now are almost keywords for what that post is about. So if you put in, say, hashtag Invisalign, and somebody else in your local area, your demographic, is liking other posts with hashtag Invisalign on, it will think, okay, they're posting about that, you're posting about that, there's a high chance you'll like this post as well, and put it in front of them. So it's kind of giving Instagram enough content to get it to further understand what your page, what your brand, what your posts are about. There isn't a way that Instagram says, oh, we know all of your followers that follow this hashtag, or we know who's looking for this hashtag. But if there is someone out there that is doing a bit of digging on veneers or composite bonding and you post about it, it gives Instagram that information to say, oh, we've posted about this, we've got someone who's interested in this, let's see if your post resonates with them.
Gotcha.
Okay.
And then there was a follow-up, which is from somebody else. It says, how can an associate working at two different practices promote a treatment without there being a conflict of interest? Because primarily, I want to drive the patients in two different areas to reach out to the local practice where I'm working at to have that treatment.
Sure. So what I would suggest for this is working with the practice and collaborating with them on your content and their content. So on Instagram especially, you can become a collaborator. So which means a single post is posted across the practice page as well as your personal account. So I suggest working with the two practices and saying, right, I'm gonna push forward my content, push forward my account. I want to do this, but I don't want there to be a sort of conflict of interest, as you said, about kind of pushing patients off in different directions. So if we collaborate on this, anyone that sees that I'm posting about this for a certain demographic or for a certain treatment that you might want to send to a certain practice is going to see that practice first. And I'm not saying there's not going to be any overlap. People will know that you work at both practices, but this is a much easier way to be able to kind of push people in the right direction.
It's an interesting one, really. So I was thinking, as you were saying that, I was thinking there's probably going to have to be, whether it is already, something in associate contracts.
Yeah,
You would think, wouldn't you? I mean, and there's the no compete and all that sort of stuff, but quite often they're geographically based, so it's going to be they're probably. I was listening to you. I was thinking you're dead right that the way to do it is collaborating, but I wonder whether there is going to be down the line someone's going to say, "Oh, right, we need to put that in our associate contract just to make sure that you can't fall foul of it, because that's what you want to make sure, don't you? As either a principal or as an associate, you don't sort of end up being
we even see it in kind of practice valuations and size where someone has an associate has a big social media following, and it's like, who owns that? Is that patient base? Is it the associates? Is it the practice? And that's why I say, just by being kind of forthright to start with and saying, like, this is what I want to do, but I want to work with you guys on it, and kind of keeping it as above board as you can.
Yeah, it makes sense. Good idea. Keep it out don't try and do it around the back of the scrum.
No, and I think even by who asked the question, by even thinking about that puts you already in the right mindset, that you are trying to do the right thing, you are trying to push patients in the right direction, which I think by just being sort of open that you are going to do this, but this is how you're going to go about it. Is the best.
But by virtue of it being social media, it's going to be public. So I think, like you say, having integrity and planning that out and working the practice from the beginning makes perfect sense. But particularly as many of the people listening who might be associates today could be a practice owner tomorrow. So how would you feel if you were the person who had invested heavily in a practice and an associate was doing their own thing? It's about working with them, because everybody can do well from it. But it's just understanding how to do that in an ethical way. And I think the whole that piece you talked about the ethics of AI, I think the whole thing is interesting because it's a fairly unregulated aspect, because it's new technology, but it's being delivered into a heavy regulated market, which is dentistry, and finding the right place to sit with that. We were talking before we went live about, I think Tom Hanks, the American actor, was famously, I think his personality was dropped over a certain brand, and he had to come out and say, "This has got nothing to do with me. Like I'm not connected with it at all." So you've got those sorts of things that can happen. But I think dentists and dental practices just need to be quite careful in how they use it to make sure that they continue to deliver ethical content that sits within the boundaries and the constraints of what's allowable within the profession.
And exactly, that's why I always say AI is a phenomenal tool, but it does need to be reviewed. You need to keep an eye on it. I wouldn't just copy and paste whatever it said straight into your social media, because that's where you are going to get tripped up, which obviously we don't want happening.
And it's going to evolve. Like you said, it's never going to be as bad as it is today. It's going to be better tomorrow than it is today. And engaging with it, and this applies, I think, to social media as well as AI. The sooner you kind of start to get to grips with it and get comfortable with it, you can start to get better. But no, that was really good, really, really interesting.
Thank you very much for having me on. Hope everyone got something from it.
No, it was good. It was good. And I think we're now going to absolutely delight Chris, because we're going to wrap up with 1 minute to spare. So he's got time to pop to the toilet and then skip onto the television for the football.
I was very conscious of running to time.
Good man.
So we'll thank everyone that's joined us today. Thank you very much indeed. That's really good. We'll send you a link to the recording if there's anything you want to go back and listen to again. And just, in fact, before we're going to go, we've got one last question that's just come in. It's more of a comment. Says, I think it would be unfair to the associate where else they will be able to showcase their cases. It's not trying to post the patients as are totally anonymised. And I think that's probably just a comment from the associate side of things. And it's about where they can showcase their work. And I think you probably go back to the previous point about it is their work because they're delivering it. But it does come back to that working in the practice, that environment that you were when you were doing that. Because
whose patient is it?
Yeah, and I think it also comes down to, are you looking for kind of leads for the practice or more of just a portfolio piece? And then say, right, I work here or I work here. And I think it really comes down to being relatively open with the practices and just saying, right, I'm going to drive these certain treatments to this practice, and say some from here, if they're obviously it helps if they are in different local areas, of which obviously I'm not sure, but if they are, that does help.
And
but,
I think the bit kind of that needs to be reconciled is there's the clinician that delivers the treatment, but the patient is owned by the practice, because obviously it's the practice that generates the the marketing, the facility, the conditions to treat the patient, and that's where I think good communication between the associate and the practice can manage that situation, as opposed to people getting a bit entrenched around ownership.
Yes,
right. On that,
exactly.
we're gonna thank everyone for joining us. Thank you very much indeed. And we will be back.
Thank you.
Next month with a new guest on a Wednesday next month. But so thank you, Oliver. And I shall see you in the morning, Chris.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, guys. Thank you very much indeed.
See you later.
Cheers.